I am an old hippie.
Yay!
Thank you. 5 people in this audience can attest to that fact. In the early 70s, I lived at Florist Creek, an anarchist commune deep in the woods of coastal Oregon. Our simple back-to-nature life had many complications. When it got dark to read and cook, we lit kerosene lanterns, and our world was illuminated by the soft glow. Outside the small log cabin we all shared, the only sound was the wail of coyotes and the wind. Inside, we were the best of friends, telling stories, reading, playing chess. Time just melted. On very cold nights, as heat rose, all 14 of us slept in the loft we had built by hand above the main space. Our sleeping bags were laid out side by side on foam mattresses. One night, I lay in the loft reading Uncle Vanya. The others, including Ginger, a visiting ex-nurse, sat downstairs, or rather she was down ladder, talking softly. Ginger had been married to Doc, a much-loved man in our circle, because not only was he an excellent dentist, but because he worked for barter, and in cases of real need, he worked for free. And Doc had dumped Ginger for Meadow, who was Ginger's former ex-girlfriend. And Ginger was terribly wounded, but she did her very best to put on a good face, and it was clear that she wanted and she felt that she had to find another man. Now, living in the rural, remote Northwest is very rough and lonely for a single woman, and Ginger's desperation was apparent. She gave off this powerful musk as she arched her back and she swung her hips seductively. Her every move cried, "Take me, take me, take me, please." We had men, and Ginger wanted one, the best one that she could get. After the dinner dishes had been washed at the indoor hand pump, Ginger decided to take a sponge bath by the light of her own kerosene lantern. I closed Uncle Vanya and watched her from my spot high up in the loft. First, Ginger filled a bucket with water that had been heated on the wood stove, and then she slid off her Pendleton shirt. No bra. She stood naked to the waist in her own spotlight. My heart sank. She was doing her mating dance for us all, but was in heat primarily for Clint, my old man. Clint was enormously attractive to women, but Ginger could have easily settled for any one of the men who lived with us. There was Guy and Rockmont and Joey and Steve and Dancing Bear and Moving Thunder and Alan. General female raider was up, especially mine, because I had a bird's eye view of this lovely performance. These were my thoughts on free love. No way. Love was not free. I'd given up my career, my home in New York, and my fabulous woman support group to be with a man that I loved. And okay, there was nothing revolutionary about that. Mine was an old-fashioned choice, and I could not be swayed from it. Clint, who had been married before, felt that the institution cursed a relationship, and he had no interest in a formal commitment. He believed that our devotion to our lives together could not be assured by a piece of paper, and I totally agreed. I didn't need the state or the federal government in my personal life. Taxes were not an issue because we didn't pay any. Joint property, we owned nothing and everything together. I loved the concept of freedom of choice, knowing that every day of our lives we chose to be together. I never wanted to marry, ever. Isadora Duncan, that consummate artist and innovator, had had her children out of wedlock, and so would I. The thought that her children tragically wound up at the bottom of a river and that Isadora herself was accidentally strangled by her own overly dramatic and foolish clothing choices didn't register. My heart was married, and that was enough. Ginger had, the most exquisite breasts that I had ever seen. This was during a pre-silicone, pre-enhancement, pre-reduction period in the history of women's bodies. Tits were what the god or the goddess had given you. There were growing creams that you could rub on every day in a futile attempt to increase your circumferences, or padded bras that would ultimately disappoint. And there were even these daily exercises that you did usually while you were in high school. You put your hands together like this, and you bent your elbows, and you went, let's do this all together. I must increase my bust. I must. Oh, you all know this. I must increase my bust. You didn't need it? Oh, okay. So there was Ginger, basking in her glow, bearing her pink, perky, and perfect orbs. A 36C with no drop, no droop, and standing tall at attention, begging to be touched. Now, slowly, oh, so slowly, she dripped the warm water on her waiting flesh, sponging herself down. She then cupped herself and lifted her tits, first one and then the other, with her careful, nurse-trained hand. And then she let the soapy water slowly ooze down again before she swept them up again for a second go-around. Oh, yes, those breasts needed a thorough cleaning. Everything stopped. The wind, the coyotes, the whispers, and the laughter. I hung over the edge of the loft, riveted on Ginger, and resisting the urge to spit on her head. As Ginger rubbed, her nipples responded. I couldn't be totally certain how much they responded because I was a good 10 to 12 feet away, and you could not be sure of nipple response from that distance. But I could see those two miniature pig snouts quiver upward, chocolate and plump. Clint stopped sharpening his knife on his whetstone. That was a very dangerous sign because a sharp knife was very important to him. Ginger coyly glanced over her shoulder, and for a moment their eyes locked with his. Hours later, when the lantern was doused, and we all climbed into our sleeping bags, Ginger chose a spot on Clint's other side. I was on his left, and the tit monster was on his right. Clint and I, instead of sleeping separately in our individual cocoons, shared our bags. We placed the down one on top of us and the fiber fill one over our foam mattress. I curled up in my usual position, my back cuddled up against his belly, my feet entwined with his. Slowly, Clint began to undulate against me, his breath heavy and warm against my ear. But something was terribly wrong. As my feet caressed his, I encountered a third foot. Ginger. I turned to face him, and the power and size of his erection stabbed me in the belly. Come on, baby. It'll be liberating. The three of us. I was nearly speechless, but not quite. What? Now! Carol, I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm sharing the experience. It will be ours. Or what, me getting fucked while you fuck Ginger? Clint had expressed his desire to experiment before. I'd been attracted to no one else since we'd been together in Oregon, so the concept had absolutely no appeal to me. Besides, I was sure of my boundaries, and they were not to be crossed. Sure, Ginger had a beautiful body, but I just didn't like her, and I didn't want to share my veggies and brown rice with her, much less Clint. Oh, woman on woman? No, I didn't want to go there. I wasn't interested. Oh, Clint was kissing my breasts, second-rate though they were, his hands opening the folds of my crevices. Come on, baby. Try it, just for me. Ginger's hand was on his member. I felt it as I grabbed for the one thing that I knew that I could control, but she'd beaten me to it. If you don't like it, we'll stop, I promise. His voice was so deep and thick with desire. Okay, sweetheart. Okay, I said. Time stopped, and then whomp! I kneed him as hard as I could in the gut. I didn't mean to do it, but this fury overtook me, and Clint doubled over in pain. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I whispered. My leg just had a life of its own. He didn't respond. He didn't try to hurt me back. I'm sorry, too, he said, and he just turned over. Ginger had something more to say. Carol, you're wrong. This is not the way to hold on to Clint. Oh, yes, it is, Ginger. So move your damn sleeping bag and go somewhere else. But I really want to be friends with both of you. Yeah, well, my friends just don't grab Clint's dick. Call me crazy, but that's just the way that I see it. Maybe in the morning you'll see things differently. I'm Jewish and I come from a 5,000-year-old matriarchy, so I can assure you, Ginger, that I'm never going to. Clint remained silent. His idea of a three-way did not extend to conversation. The next morning, Ginger quietly packed her duffel bag. Her time at Flores Creek had ended. Just before she started her Jeep, she hugged me goodbye. Her frame was so small and so slender that I could have knocked her down with a well-aimed rock. See you next time, Carol. Not if I see you first, Ginger. Yeah, I know, that's a tired old joke, but she giggled anyway, a surprisingly soft and a very vulnerable giggle. She was just another woman. I really wanted to be with you too, Carol. I think that your hair is very beautiful. Oh, thanks, Ginger, but I'm also in love with Chekhov. He's about as much as I can handle right now. Oh, Chekhov, is he here on the commune? No, Ginger, he's with the Hodads planting trees in Medford. But I think that you're going to like him a lot. I would? Yeah, Ginger, you would. You'd like him a whole lot. Everybody does. Thank you.